Most runners end up having to stop running completely because it's just too painful. And every single year, 50% of runners actually hurt themselves. So if you're tight through the bottom of the foot, you're weak through the front of the shin, you're tight through the back of the calf, you're weak at the front of the knee, and you're tight through the hamstrings, which seems to be the most common for runners, then you can see how all of these different imbalances through the entire lower body could end up with some issues down the line. So I want to show you what I actually did to reverse those myself, because I used to be a runner. I loved running. Then I hated running, and now I love it again because I've made that transition from painful to pain-free. So starting at the bottom of all of these issues is the foot. I found a direct correlation between my big toe and the bottom of my foot. The better my big toe could move, the better my foot actually felt. So this big toe stretch is how I fixed my feet completely, along with a few extra movements, but this was the biggest impact for me, is just being able to sit on my heels with my toes planted on the ground. You can see when your big toe is stretched, you're gonna get a stretch all the way through the bottom of your foot. I'm keeping my shoes on for your viewing pleasure, but you can still probably see it. I'll zoom in. And the more mobility I gained here, the better my feet felt, as I said. So I didn't start there. I started leaning forward. See how this is the same position, but just less load on it. So if you start here and then work your way through the sessions, just getting gradually further and further back, now I can actually lean back and put almost all of my weight on my foot by lifting my knees up, and my feet feel completely fine. So then when you go into running and you're planting your foot like this on every single step, you have more mobility through the bottom of the foot, which means that your foot feels better when you run. Now we get rid of the pad. We don't need that anymore, and we just use a wall. So working up from the foot to the lower leg, which is just the shin and the calf, that was a problematic area for me because I used to get shin splints and I had really tight ankles. So if you can't be strong in this position here with your toes raised, then when you run, whenever you flex your ankle like this and you land, and you do that literally every single step is that, if you're weak there, then you're gonna be taking damage constantly when you're running. So if you can't handle the damage because you're not strong enough, then you're gonna get shin splints, because shin splints are an overuse injury. And overuse, some people think it means I can't use my shins, I need to heal. But actually in reality, you need to use your shins more just in a controlled setting. Because running, you're not really controlling, you're kind of like moving your entire body. But here, we can isolate them and get them stronger with less risk, because it's just raising and lowering the foot and nothing else in the body is moving. Now working from the shin, opposite side is the calf, and most people have restrictions here in tightness. So we use a slant board because it gives us a good prop for the heel to be lower than the toes, which is actually what causes the stretch. But I didn't stop here in just stretching. I would take this stretch and I actually started loading it like a calf raise. So most people do their calf raises from here, but this isn't actually realistic to real life because there's no stretch through the ankle, right? But when you're running, you're constantly stretched through the ankle and you're pushing from that stretch. See that? So you're planting your foot in the ground, you're in a stretch, and then you push off. So that is actually more transferable to this, because this, you're already in that slanted position and you're pushing out of it. So this calf raise is amazing for runners. It gives you a good stretch at the bottom and strength at the top. So that's below the knee covered. Now we work the knee directly at the quads and the hamstrings. First is the quad weakness, because this is the exact same position as running. See how this is just a controlled version of this. So we're actually training the same range of motion at the knee. I like using a step because you can do this at home with a staircase. 6 inches is the same as a stair, which is what I used for a long time, so I've just stuck with it. Assisted means I can hold on to something and take some body weight off, because if you're getting knee pain when you're running, it means that body weight is too much for you right now. But if you regress that and take some of your body weight off and control the movement, it means you have the potential to build past the point where you're not actually gonna feel pain when you run. So going from assisted to body weight is an easy transformation for you to make. Then from body weight, you can actually start loading it. When I was on a staircase, I would use dumbbells. Now that I have a full setup, I use a barbell. There is no difference in what's better or worse. I just have this setup, so I use it. But go ahead, if you're on a staircase and you can do this with weight, then add dumbbells, kettlebells, a barbell if you can, whatever you can get, make it happen. Now, I can start to actually build strength now. I've gotten to the point where I can load up my body weight on a barbell and do 10 full controlled reps. So that means when I go running, my knee is used to handling this exact range of motion with my body weight on my back it makes running really easy. You don't need to build all the way up there. You can get so much more potential from just using your body weight. But I do like having the option of loading after that's pain-free, and you can do 10 reps. So that's weakness at the front of the knee covered, but what about the back of the knee, which is usually tight through the hamstring? I used an elephant walk. Now this elevation is just what I have in front of me, but you can use literally any elevation, and all you're doing is finding a height where you get a good stretch but no pain, and you're just bending and extending one leg at a time. So this is an example of doing that. Rounding the back is totally fine. I actually think it's a good way to gradually start getting used to rounding your back, because backs that can round are backs that are healthy, because you can use any range of motion at the back, which is good. So extending and bending one leg at a time, 15 to 20 reps is a great place to start, using an elevation that doesn't hurt. Now the goal here is to be able to go fists to the floor with your quads completely flexed. If you have that standard, then your hamstrings are usually good enough to start loading with an RDL, with a back extension, etc. Which is why in the first phase of the program, we're just building this elephant walk before we start loading the hamstrings. Because when people load hamstrings through stretch positions like an RDL, but they haven't prepared their fist to floor pike yet, they can easily get injured. Simply put, the better that I got at these movements, the more I could run and without any pain. Now, I used to run and I would get pain, I'd get all these injuries, and I would just rest and avoid my body because I thought that that's how you heal. But what I can say is, if you are in pain, you have hope. You just need to face your problems head on and start building strength. Again, everything regresses to any level. So for example, if your knee hurts right now and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna rest and then I'll start doing this stuff, just start as assisted as possible. I can take all of my body weight off of this movement and help, and just start getting blood flow, start getting healing to the knee. You can do that for all of these movements. So really, try not to put any excuses into your head, because you can become so much more powerful if you just face your problems head on at the level that you can actually handle right now. So I hope this video inspires you, and I'll keep posting more of these videos every single day on this YouTube channel to get more solutions out there so you can start making more progress. And lastly, if you really want to become a pain-free runner, we have the service that we run where you can follow the programs, you can get coaching along the way by me personally on our pain-free app, which is hosted on Trainerize. It's the service. We've been doing this for years. We run it at pay what you want, so you literally go in and choose the price yourself. So I don't have to say, oh, it's $50. No, I want you to be able to get the help that you need at an affordable price with me personally. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave it in the description, and you can join anytime.